Matthew 26, the betrayal and arrest of Jesus. It was the night of the Passover. Jesus, fully aware of what was to come, sat with his disciples. He looked at them and said, "You know that 2 days from now, the Passover will take place, and the Son of Man will be handed over to be executed." Meanwhile, in the dimly lit halls of the chief priests, a sinister plot was unfolding. They conspired to seize Jesus and kill him. But they feared the people, saying, "Not during the festival, so that there may not be an uproar among the people." At Bethany, Jesus reclined at the table of Simon the leper. A woman approached with an alabaster jar of expensive oil. She poured it on his head. Some disciples murmured in disapproval, saying, "Why this waste? This oil could have been sold for a high price, and the money given to the poor." But Jesus, knowing their thoughts, said, "Why do you bother the woman? She did a fine deed toward me. You always have the poor with you, but you will not always have me. When she poured this perfumed oil on my body, she did it to prepare me for burial." Elsewhere in the shadows, Judas Iscariot sought out the chief priests. "What will you give me if I hand him over to you?" he asked. They paid him 30 silver pieces. From that moment, Judas looked for an opportunity to betray him. That evening, Jesus and his disciples gathered for the Passover meal. As they ate, Jesus looked at them and solemnly declared, "One of you will betray me." A wave of sorrow filled the room. One by one they asked, "Lord, is it I?" Jesus answered, "The one who dips his hand with me in the bowl will betray me." Then Judas, who was about to betray him, asked, "Is it I, Rabbi?" Jesus looked at him and said, "You yourself said it." Jesus took the bread, gave thanks, broke it, and gave it to them, saying, "Take, eat. This means my body." Then he took the cup, gave thanks, and said, "Drink out of it, all of you, for this means my blood of the covenant, which is to be poured out in behalf of many for forgiveness of sins." Then they sang praises and went to the Mount of Olives. Turning to his disciples, Jesus said, "All of you will be stumbled because of me tonight. For it is written, 'I will strike the shepherd, and the sheep of the flock will be scattered.' But after I have been raised up, I will go ahead of you into Galilee." Peter, passionate and bold, declared, "Even if all the others are stumbled because of you, I will never be stumbled." Jesus turned to him and said, "Truly I say to you, before a rooster crows, you will disown me 3 times." Peter protested, "Even if I have to die with you, I will by no means disown you." And all the disciples said the same. Then they went to Gethsemane. Jesus, deeply troubled, said, "My soul is deeply grieved even to death. Stay here and keep on the watch with me." Moving a little farther, he fell face down and prayed, "My Father, if it is possible, let this cup pass away from me. Yet not as I will, but as you will." Returning to his disciples, he found them asleep. "Could you not stay awake with me 1 hour?" he asked. A second and third time he prayed. Then the betrayer arrived. Judas, leading a crowd armed with swords and clubs, approached Jesus and greeted him with a kiss. Jesus asked, "Judas, do you betray the Son of Man with a kiss?" The soldiers seized him. Peter, drawing his sword, struck the high priest's servant, cutting off his ear. Jesus stopped him, saying, "Return your sword to its place, for all those who take the sword will perish by the sword." The disciples fled, and Jesus was taken before the Sanhedrin. False witnesses arose. The high priest demanded, "Tell us, are you the Christ, the Son of God?" Jesus answered, "You yourself said it. But I say to you, from now on you will see the Son of Man sitting at the right hand of power and coming on the clouds of heaven." The high priest tore his garments. "Blasphemy!" he cried. They spit on Jesus, struck him, and mocked him. Meanwhile, Peter sat outside. A servant girl recognized him and said, "You were also with Jesus." Peter denied it. 2 more times people accused him of being a follower of Jesus, and he denied it. Then a rooster crowed. Peter remembered Jesus' words and went outside, weeping bitterly.